This X-Men statue is fire. No, seriously, what happened to Pyro? Look it, he's completely charred. That's it. Out of bad jokes. As the Extreme channel is pushing towards 50,000 subscribers, these are just a few of the statues we are giving away on the journey there. If you want to know how to win one, stay tuned for later in the video. Hey, thanks for tuning into the Extreme channel. I'm Mr. X, and this is a custom Pyro kit. What is that? Well, first of all, a kit is an unpainted statue. It's the only way that this X-Men villain came. So this is Pyro. Pyro is part of the Brotherhood of the Mutants. He is one of a big X-Men villain. He actually was portrayed in a very realistic take in X-Men 2, X2 United, and then also in X3 where he fought Iceman, and I thought they did an okay job, but clearly not the comic character, which is what this is based off of. So really excited to have this in the collection, and usually I have it rotating on the table for you guys. I do not, simply for the fact that it is a kit, so not everything is permanently together and it falls apart really easily until we get all the magnets and everything like that in place, and quite a few of them already are. There are some pieces that the painter will have to fix. Now the painter is going to be my wife, who's done a number of statues as you guys have seen. She's working on about 8 different ones right now, and I'm escalating him to the front of the line because I'm really excited to have him. Because to my knowledge, there are no quarter scale Pyro statues out there, and this one is absolutely phenomenal, even though it is yet to be painted. Now, one thing I'm going to ask for your help is, what should he look like? Now, while we will talk more about that later, sometime in the video, throw down in the comments below painting suggestions, as that comment could win you a statue. We will be giving all of these statues away, plus additional ones at every 5,000 subscriber milestone. To win one of these statues, all you have to do is make sure you've liked this video, you've subscribed to the channel, you've hit that bell notification, and then just drop a comment below. Every 5,000 subscriber milestone, we are going to do a random drawing and pick a random comment and give one of these statues away, plus some additional ones I'm not showing right now. The more videos you comment on, the higher your chances are to win. Alright, so let's kick it off talking about the concept of this piece, which is fairly simplistic. But Pyro's mutant ability is he can control fire. He can't create it, but he can control existing fire, so he generally always has a way to produce fire, which is what you traditionally see in the comics. And you can see that here. He actually has a fire backpack. Now we'll talk more about it in design. I have the backpack over here, but you can see the hoses, and we'll look at that in a second. But it's a very plain base. Looks like metal guard on a museum-style base. As evidence of the statues behind me, I like my bases on my X-Men statues to be a little more flamboyant, a little bit more stuff going on. I think I'm okay with this one. Maybe we can make it charred in the paint. He's standing there in a museum-style pose, a little bit of motion to his legs. His back leg is lifting up. They did a traditional Pyro outfit concept, which we'll show you some renders in a little bit. But he's standing at the top, and he has his backpack, which is almost like a flamethrower. It just ignites the flames for him, so maybe there's some oxygen or gasoline back there. And he has a few different display options of the fire coming out, as well as a few different portrait display options that also change his costume a little bit. I think it looks pretty cool. He's sitting there very menacing. He wasn't sadistic, I would say, in the comics, but he wasn't a good dude. He actually eventually started working for the U.S. government. But pretty cool concept. I like it a lot. I like the fact there's different fire effects, even though that's more of a design thing. So while it's simple, I think it's a 4 out of 5. This is what you want out of a Pyro statue. I think what would have elevated it if it was a cooler base and you had flames actually coming out of it. Because fire can actually still hurt him, believe it or not, even though he can control it. Now with that being said, let's talk about the design of the piece. A few different display options. Because it was a kit, it was a little bit harder to assemble because things are very loose right now. You'll see that in the unboxing and assembly right here. Very small box, which is nice because it makes shipping affordable. 2 layers on the inside, black foam. Nothing was broken, which is fantastic.
Previously on X-Men.
All right, different display options. As you can see, there's two different portraits that have two different harnesses around the neck. Let's look at those. First, right here is he's kind of laughing with his mouth open. And then a mouth closed, still a little bit of that sadistic look. And you can see that the armor around his neck is different. Now, those are not interchangeable. You have to display this one with this one and that one here. And of course, it has an extra bust display, which is always nice, especially when they're killer portraits like they are. The fire is two different options. One is this flame going from side to side, and the other one is two individual flames. Now, in theory, you could have it without the flames, but that'd be pretty stupid because it's pyro, and that's what he does. Now, there are lenses that you may or may not use when you actually paint his face, so they cover up his eyes. Again, this protects him from the fire, because as a reminder, he can be burnt by it. Also, the backpack, right now it weighs down this part on the back too much, and it makes the magnet fall out. So I'm going to have to figure out a way to secure that. I think it's a little bit of a flaw in the design. Otherwise, everything else, maybe some putty and some glue. But of course, that makes it difficult to sell in the future, although I do plan my X-Men statues to be kind of my end game. He's actually going to go down. You can see it a little bit with Mystique. He's going to go down with Mystique down there, even unpainted for a while, as Mrs. X is actually working on this Silver Surfer right here. So design, a little bit of a flaw that we're going to have to fix, but there's always some expected things with kits. I like the different display options. I think that's pretty good. I think it's a 3 out of 5. I would give it a higher score, but it's not incredibly elaborate. And again, there's a few issues going on that will have to be fixed. I'm pretty sure that the weight of this is not supposed to pull that out. And also the fire, I moved it a tiny bit earlier and it fell down by itself. Thankfully, it didn't break. Now is where we talk about paint and sculpt. Clearly, we're not going to talk about paint, but here is a render of what he could look like. Now, to me, this is almost too cartoony. I almost want to do a little bit of realism to him and very badassery. So I have to decide, do I want to do a ton of flames everywhere, scorched base? I'm kind of thinking that, but I want more of a realistic take on him. I'm pretty excited to see how he's going to come out in some direction. So I'll probably use a bunch of reference material online, and again, look at your comments below. But Sculpt is absolutely phenomenal. This company does some fantastic kits, and they didn't disappoint here. Take a look. Now, as a reminder, paint can affect how the sculpt is perceived to an extent. So you have the yellow fire. I'm glad they cast it in a yellow resin. It'll help it, make it easier to accentuate. And I think the flames look good. They're kind of bundled on each other. And this is actually, so these are the individual ones that are different than this one where he's really connecting it and using his power. So I think it's cool how they did that. There's a semi-translucent aspect to it. Here is his fire pack. Looks very futuristic, almost like a Rocketeer backpack. Look at the detail that they engraved in his costume. You can see it here on the backpack, then on the neck brace up here. And you can still see his anatomy below. Now, his anatomy on the sides, his abdominals are a little weird to me on the portrait display right here. They're also up here. It's almost like they're strapped back. I think that's a little bit of a negative, but I think the paint can take care of that. The portraits look phenomenal. Absolutely well done. I love the skin annotations on it. You can see the eyes right there, the mask around his face, and then his hair flowing back, which really helps the flow of that fire. Diamond cut steel on the bottom on top of the museum style base looks really good. Very muscular in the thighs as well, which you don't really expect this guy to be too muscular. You see it in the biceps too. So it'll be interesting with the paint, but overall it looks pretty good. I like how you can see some folds in the costume. Even some creases on the boots. So tons of detail in here. Here's this portrait. Mrs. X is going to have an awesome time painting the mouth and the teeth and the tongue. Again, great. Same comments about the hair flow. Move to the back here. This hose looks fantastic. Different nodules in it. Just really great job on this guy. So it'll be interesting to see how the paint really affects the sculpt here. But otherwise, I'm liking it a lot. I'm trying to overlook some of like the abdominals there and the quads and biceps because I don't really think of this guy as super muscular. I think of him more of as a skinny I don't want to say dork, because I am not a skinny dork. I'm a large dork. But yeah, overall, really nice job on this guy. I like it a lot. As I said, when it's not painted, sometimes it doesn't bring out the sculpt as much. But of course, paint can also mute sculpt a little bit as well. But I think this is fabulous. It's a 5 out of 5 for me, which is one of the reasons I got it. I knew they wouldn't disappoint. This looks way better than the renders they actually even showed. So very, very impressed by that. All right, so let's talk about value. Value is very difficult when you talk about kits. So they don't have the option to paint these. This is a custom, means it's a private unlicensed commission. They only made 45 of these, so very rare, which I love because I doubt anyone will ever do another Pyro, and I think if they do, it'll be hard to beat this one. But the retail was $750. Which for a painted statue isn't bad at all, especially one this rare. But you got to get it painted, and you're probably looking at anywhere from a 2-month to a 2-year wait, unless you're sleeping with the painter like I am. And then also I'm married to a different one, so there's that too. But normally it'd probably cost you $400 to $1,000 to get this painted as well, so that's a hefty price tag. So I think the value at best is 3 out of 5 simply for that reason. You know, a lot of commissioners of custom pieces don't like to paint it because everyone wants a different paint scheme. So this is one way to keep everybody happy, but unfortunately it does raise the cost unless you have an easy means to get it painted. Now, is this a 5 out of 5 statue? Does it have the X factor? I don't think so. He could be a 4 out of 5, I think, if the paint job is done right. So Mrs. X better not fuck it up. But I'm really excited. I think he looks absolutely great. They killed the sculpt. I think the concept's pretty cool. This is a cool Pyro statue. Again, let me know in the comments what I should paint it. At the very least, give Mrs. X a like so she can have some encouragement to get it painted. I really appreciate you guys watching. Again, please sub if you want to see what he's painted. I will do another video on that as well. But also hit that like button. It's easy and free. Thank you so much for watching. Please take care of yourself.